And welcome back to another episode of Own Your Dreams podcast. I know it's been a minute since I dropped my last one, as some of you guys may be keeping up with me on my social media. I've just been a little extra tied up with a lot of work. Thanks to the man upstairs. Thanks to anybody out there who's been keeping me top of mind when it comes down to people's real estate needs, and also doing a couple shows just kind of out of the blue. So today we have a new guest on the show, which is this guy. This guy is actually the overall win for the Legion Sports Fest that just took place here in Reno, Nevada 2 weeks ago. So super happy to have him here. It was a great experience. It's funny how it actually landed on the third try. I did 2 shows in California a couple weeks prior to this one, and this one originally was not in the plans, but I just really wanted to go for the overall. That's funny, overall. But it's funny how it landed on the third one, and it happened to be in my hometown to where my friends and family were able to actually come out and support. So it couldn't have worked out in any better way. It was meant to play out the way that it did, even though it originally was not in the plan. So with that being said, let's get right into this episode. So today I wanted to record this because I wanted to share some thoughts that I have found really valuable in my life, and I feel like I wanted to just kind of share them out there to anybody who may be able to get some kind of value out of it for their life as well. So today's title of this video, I'm debating on calling it Success is a Mindset or Becoming an Overnight Success. Maybe I'll call them both. Becoming an overnight success would be more of a clickbait, because obviously I don't think there's such thing as a real overnight success. I think things that are worth having are built up over time and through consistent effort after months, years, maybe even decades, right? But if you stay to the end of this video, you know exactly what I mean by that. So the other day I read this thing. Basically what it said is, as children we want to become adults quick or fast. We want to grow up quick because we want the freedom that comes with becoming an adult. You think that you might not have a curfew. You think that you might be able to make your own decisions. And that's just obviously you looking from the outside in, right? And then you grow up, you become an adult, and then you realize that you actually had a lot more freedom as a kid, to where you didn't have as much responsibilities, you didn't have bills to pay, a job to do, but to an extent, you're limited in both senses, because you can become a kid and you have limited resources, you don't have any money to do things, you can't even get around because you don't have a car, you don't have a license. So to an extent, you do have more freedom in one aspect as being a kid, in the same way that you have a little bit more freedom as an adult in a different aspect, but you don't really have all this freedom, I guess, that we play up to have in our own mind, right? So that's what I read. And then I decided to kind of add on to this. It came to me while I was doing my cardio, and it just kind of, in a way, honestly, it blew my mind. Not trying to sound arrogant or anything like that, but I'm like, this is like really helpful towards me. And if I feel like I can share it with somebody out there, I think that it would be very helpful towards somebody else out there as well. So I added this to this story that I just told you, which is, to an extent, I feel like we're all after freedom in one way or another. So the reason why I'm working hard in today's day is, for one, I really enjoy working. I find it fulfilling. I like having a purpose in my day-to-day basis. And ultimately, I want to be in a position where once I'm in a position to retire, I can actually have the freedom to choose to do whatever it is that I want, whenever I want, to an extent. And I'll go into a little bit more detail on that as we let this episode play out. I would argue that the overweight guy, the obese guy, goes to the buffet because he enjoys the freedom of eating whatever it is that he wants and as much as he wants, and the all-you-can-eat buffet. But I would go ahead and argue that to an extent, it's not really him playing up that freedom or taking advantage of this freedom that comes from that buffet. Is it really him that wants to do this, or is it maybe his hunger emotion that's maybe driving him there? Maybe is it the tempting cupcakes and the ribeye steak and the macaroni and cheese and the crepes that are driving him in there almost like a zombie? Is it really him that genuinely wants to have these foods after he gets done eating? Is he truly fulfilled or content with his decision, or is he filled with regret and guilt because it really wasn't him? It was just that hunger emotion. He's being a slave to the hunger emotion. He's being a slave to the crepes, So I would argue that could be the case in a lot of cases. So I guess what I'm trying to say here is, I believe that the ultimate level of freedom that we can really have in our lives, and we can only really tap into more than anything, is having the ability to discipline ourselves. And I don't mean that just in a physical sense, but more importantly, mentally, because the way we act out does stem from the things that we think. Everything starts as a thought. So if we're able to actually discipline how we feel on a day-to-day basis, how we feel through, let's say, unpleasant circumstances, and still choose to act out in a positive manner, still choose to have a positive attitude in spite of anything that we may encounter in our day-to-day lives, because you and I both know that life, has certain ways of hitting us with surprises, has certain ways of throwing us some curveballs. So what do we do in these situations? And the only thing that we can really do ultimately is discipline our mind to where we can choose to feel whatever we want to feel in that particular moment. So as an example, you can go ahead and say you have the freedom to work your ass off to buy your dream home. But it's obviously going to be an extreme case, but it tends to happen. You can get the dream home that you want. Who's not to say that a natural disaster won't come around and all of a sudden wipe it out? Now what? Are you there sitting devastated? Are you depressed? Are you getting suicidal because your life's works have gone to ruin? Or can you actually somehow flip your mind and be able to focus on the things that you still are blessed to have in your life, and focus on that? Yeah, of course, that's a very sorry loss to have, but if you have the ability and the strength to be that disciplined with your mindset to where I can choose to feel this in spite of all these things, I think that is a very powerful thing that we can do. And ultimately, like I said, that's the only thing that we really have control over if we exercise it enough. That is the only thing that we really can own in this life if we exercise that enough. So I wanted to tie that in with becoming a success overnight, not literally, because I think anything that's meaningful is something that may take a lot of time to build up, whether it may take months, years, even decades sometimes. So not literally overnight, but quicker than you may think. And I say that because it's ultimately being able to align yourself with what I just said, in a sense of choosing to feel like a success. Because if you really think about it, whatever situation you may be in today, at least for the majority of you, you have at one point set out to be where you're at today, whether if it was months ago, whether if it was years ago, whether if it was to drop 10 pounds, whether if it was to have the certain job that you have today, a certain career that you have today, to drive the same car that you're driving in today's day, and all of a sudden you take it for granted. And I think that's always going to be a forever thing. Everything that I've always worked towards, I always set a new objective just because I want to continue, for one, to progress, and I want to continue to try to walk the straight and narrow as best as possible. So I know that one way or another, regardless of whatever circumstances I may have in my life, I want to continue to propose the next objective in front of me. So I know that's a forever thing, and I've accepted that. But if I can actually acknowledge that at one point, the things that I have today is something that I have been working towards, since years ago, I can actually go ahead and feel like a success. And the more I feel like a success, the more I feel like I can align myself to continue to be successful. So the more success that I will attract into my life, because that's what I am aligning myself with. It's almost as if somebody wakes up and they feel like they're just, let's say, they feel like a loser. Let's put it that way, just for the sake of this scenario. Don't you think that they're going to feel a little different whenever they walk into a store, or let's say they have a job interview and these people ask them like the most common job interview question on why should we hire you? If this person has this belief that he's a loser, what kind of answer do you think he's gonna come up with that? You think he's gonna feel worthy of getting this job? You think he's gonna give the best answer ever on why he should be hired? Probably not. So same thing as if you're actually identifying yourself as a success, not just because you're trying to brainwash yourself, but because you have shown yourself, whether if it's through small accomplishments one way or another, that you actually are worthy of success, and you actually are, to an extent, a walking success at this point, as long as you are constantly pursuing something that is. Because just because you reached a goal 6-7 months ago, you can't just try to carry that win and continue chanting it from the top of your lungs for the rest of your life. I mean, you were a success at that little specific moment, but I don't know if it's Michael Jordan that says this, but you cannot win today's games with yesterday's points. So that's why I think it's so important to continue to be pursuing one objective or another. But what I'm trying to say with this is that as long as you're able to consciously identify in your own mind that at one point, whatever it is that you have in your life today, regardless of the noise that may be going on around you, regardless of what society may say that success is, You know, it's not about the car, it's not about this, it's not about that. It's about whatever you made it out to be in your life, and really align yourself with that and be content with what it is that you feel like really is your meaning of your successful life to you. Then you are a success. But it's just a matter of actually being able to be in control of your thoughts and blocking out all the noise. And once again, that goes back down to my initial point of this video, which is having the discipline to be able to choose the thoughts that you think and block out everything else. So ultimately, discipline equals ultimate freedom. And I think that by strengthening that aspect of ourselves and continue to improve that part of ourselves, which is once again the only thing that we can actually own in this world, is the key to becoming an overnight success. And ultimately, like I said, I think success is a mindset. So lean into yourself, find out whatever that may be, and live that out regardless of the noise around you. So with that being said, I'm gonna keep this video nice and short. So hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys got some kind of value out of it. Hopefully it serves you in some kind of way that it has been serving me, lately in my life. So with that being said, I will see you guys on episode 5.